Alright, hello everyone, this is John from Nickathan Gaming, and today I am going to show you how you can add the Google Translate element to your React application. I have seen many tutorials for this, none of them are as good as I want. My tutorial is not perfect, I will admit that, but it is the best that I have come across. So, without further ado, first let's make sure you add the dependency React Router DOM, because the way I am doing this, we are going to be using the use location from React Router DOM. To get the ability to use location, we do need to add some React Router DOM stuff here. So first I'm going to delete this. Next I am going to go into my import and I'm going to say import. We want route, we want routes, and we want browser router as router. Okay, sometimes we don't need browser router as router, but it seems like in Code Sandbox we do. Okay, next I'm going to create a router. I'm going to close that router off. I'm going to make it formatted a bit nicer. I'm going to make my routes. I'm going to close my routes off. That is not a question. And finally, I'm going to put my first route. You can have many other routes if you want. I'm going to set this path to equal just the slash as the default, and I'm going to set the element to be equal to my app so we can see my app, and I'm going to close off this route. Okay. Oh, we need to say from React Router DOM. There we go. Now it should be working, and it is. Perfect. So let's save that, go into our app. Now the app is where I'm going to be doing this, but I recommend putting it into your header or into the separate pages. Actually, you only want this to load once, because if you have our Google Translate element initializing many times, it won't. So it's best to keep it in something that is going to persist through every page of your React application. Alright, so in this I want to import my use location from React Router DOM. So import use location from React Router DOM. Ooh, it added it so nice. We also are going to be using some use refs. So I'm going to say const script ref equals use ref. There we go, imported from React. I'm also going to say const translate ref equals use ref, and the beauty of using the Google Translate element is that you don't need any third-party APIs or any codes and special permissions or anything like that. So that's what makes this nice. It's not perfect, but if you don't want to pay money to translate your website, then this is a very good alternative. Okay. Now we are going to use a use effect. So I'm going to say use effect. This is what is going to initialize our stuff. Let's just say stuff. This is going to initialize our translate. Okay, so inside of this, I just want it to load on the script ref, and inside of this, I'm going to actually create a timeout. So I'm going to take the timeout ID, and we want this so we can actually return it and clear the timeout, because we want our the Google Translate does not always load right away, and sometimes you need it to continue trying to load for, I say it takes about 2 seconds sometimes, depending on the speed of your Wi-Fi, and mine's pretty slow. So I'm going to say return is going to be a function where I say clear timeout of my timeout ID. Now, let's actually assign something to this timeout. But we only want to do that if not the element ref dot current, then question mark, dot child nodes dot length is greater than 0. So what this says, our element ref is going to be what holds the Google Translate item. So we say if our element is assigned and our child nodes inside of that element ref are more than 0, then do not do this. So we are only doing this if we have an element ref and it does not already have children. Oh, sorry, not element ref. We want this to be translate ref. That's what I'm calling it here. Okay. So now, if it is, then I want to create a function which I'm going to call activate translate. And this is going to be activating our Google Translate. And here we say add script, and after we nope, not script ref, please don't correct me. And after that, we want to say that this part is going to be the activate translate, and this only works once. The Google Translate ref or Google Translate element is a bit finicky now, and for some reason with the code it adds, you are only able to activate it once at one time when the page loads. So it's not terribly helpful with when you use a database like Firebase or MongoDB, but it's still nice. And finally, we want to say reset if not finished. Okay. So, in our add script, I am going to say if not script ref dot current. So our script ref does not have anything in it yet. It's not been assigned yet. I'm going to say var. I'm going to call this my add script element. Actually, you know what? We don't need this to be var. This can be const. And this is going to be equal to document dot create element of our, and we're just going to call it script. Next, onto this add script, we want to add the Google Translate script link. So I'm going to say add script.src is going to be equal to, this is going to be equal to, let me just type this out longhand because I don't have the link on this computer. It's going to be //translate.google.com/translate_a/element.js question mark CB is equal to Google Translate element init question mark. No, we don't need that second question mark. Okay. And next we say that the script ref dot current is going to be equal to my add script. So now this if statement should not run anymore. And finally, we want to append this. So I'm going to say document dot body dot append child is the add script. Okay, so what this does is we create a script element, we add the Google Translate script, we add it to our script ref so we don't try to create another one again. If you try to create multiple of these scripts, it is going to throw an error in your browser. And finally, we append it to the document so it actually saves it. After you do this, you can't remove it easily. Google is very persistent and quite virus-like, unfortunately. Now, activate translate. This is if our translate ref is not set. So, if we do not have either of the this is going to be my translate ref dot current does it exist dot child nodes dot length greater than 0. So same thing as above. And then we want to say if that, and we have the window dot Google question mark dot translate. Okay, so if we have this, then I want to say window dot Google translate element init, and this is the same thing that we set the CB to here. The Google Translate element init is going to be equal to a new window dot Google dot translate. This is why we make sure that Google exists before we do this. Dot translate element, and that is going to take an object and it's going to take the name of our div ID, so which we will add later. This is going to be Google Translate, oh my, element. Too many E's for me to type. Okay. And finally, we want to reset this function if it is not finished yet. So if our translate ref dot current exists and child nodes dot length is equal to 0. So if we pretty much the same thing as above, you know what, for simplicity's sake, I'm going to even say not and greater than 0. Okay, so if it has not been created yet, we're going to use that timeout ID. So timeout ID is going to be equal to a set timeout, which is going to do this after a certain amount of time. We are going to say that this is going to call itself activate translate to make it repetitive, and we're going to do this once every second. So I set it to 1000. So if it has not created this, then we are going to run it again every second. You can reduce this if you want it to run faster, but I find 1 second is an okay time to wait. Now, at the end of our function, we are going to initially call our function of activate translate that starts our loop, And then, yes, we return the clear timeout. Now, we see it already popping up, which is great. But I want to create that little div in there too. So, I'm going to add it at the bottom here. Sure, let's say div. Let's set our ref to be equal to our translate ref. And our ID is going to be equal to our, we don't need that. ID is equal to, let me just copy and paste this just so I don't get anything wrong. It's going to be equal to the Google Translate element. And that's all we need. Okay, let me just close off this div and make sure everything is good. Okay, let's reload this page and see what happens. There we go. So now we've got this. It will be based on the current country you're in, unfortunately, and the Google Translate element doesn't seem to care what language you set your index HTML to. For some reason, even if you set the lang to English, when you go to inspect it, you notice that the Google Translate element takes it upon itself to change your current language. It has not done that here, though, but it still doesn't accept that it's English, which is too bad. Oh, we don't want to click that button. Okay. And one final thing, we don't see it here, but a final thing, when you change pages, it will not translate the page that you change to. So if I go here, we see that it translates everything to whatever I set it to. But when you go to a different page, the Google Translate element does not persist, which is very annoying. So we are going to add one more use effect. And this is just my little workaround for it. And we are going to set this use effect to refresh on our location, and that's why we added the location up here. Let me just minimize this use effect. So we're using the location here. Now I'm going to say that my const element is equal to my document dot query selector of the goog.te.combo. Sounds like someone's laughing at the name of Google without the LE at the end of it, which is quite hilarious. Now we say if our element exists, then I want to say that my element dot value is equal to nothing. I have not found a way to actively set the language on page load, unfortunately, but we do have this. Now let's just create one more route here. If I do that, then I need to actually move that out to a header so it persists. Okay, so that's a bit outside of the scope of this. So instead of having it in your app, it's best to have this inside of a header. Well, inside of the app is fine, but something that doesn't change every page. Okay, and that's pretty much it. You can test this yourself if you have multiple pages on your site. It pretty much sets this to nothing when you change pages, so people know that, hey, it's not being translated. Otherwise, they'll see, oh, hey, this is still in Armenia, but I went to a different page and it's not translating it to Armenian. It's still in English or French or whatever language you have your page in. But this is it. Thank you for watching. I sincerely hope this helps you. Have a great day.